We're back, and today we're talking and diving into Mu.
Also known as Lemuria. Coming up.
I don't just talk stuff and repeat stuff. I'm living this stuff.
And you can thank me for covering your astro.
Leading out loud. Leading out loud. Leading out loud.
Welcome to Leading Out Loud, the shift show that takes all things spiritual and makes it into poor taste material. I'm psychic astrologer Christopher Oteki here at your service, now on our new Wednesday night show, and this is my co-host.
I'm Scott Cruz, psychic medium and mentor, coming with you with scottcruzpm.com. How are you doing this week, Christopher? I always like to check in before we get into our shit, see how you doing this week.
All right. Okay, that's a good idea. I would say it's a heavy week. I mean, there's a lot that went on. We had a new moon. We'll talk about that. But for me, it was like just constant. You know, that the end of Aries was just like running a race.
Yeah.
And moving into Taurus, because it's my sign, I felt better, but I also then felt, this part of Taurus is always like, what's not working? So it's been a little intense. But I'm looking for my birthday next week.
Oh, how are you going to be? 23?
Yes. We'll leave it at that. Yeah. Well, we'll announce it. So, yeah, I'm countdown. We can talk about this another time, too. But, the period right before your birthday is when you process all your karma. So pre-birthday is always a little heavy for people. Not heavy, but just like,
Yeah, I mean, I guess, my birthdays are kind of, I don't really care at this point, I'm just kind of like, oh, whatever. I don't feel the age I am, So, but I think for you, I think for you, it's a lot of change, right? I mean, it's new. I think you feel your birthday this year is going to be embarking on a lot of transformation. So you could be feeling trepidation because of that. I think so. Excuse me, I feel so. My spidey senses tell me that you will be actually embarking on great transformation this new year for you.
Yes, as far as next year is concerned, absolutely. I mean, this particular time, though, I think is like people are putting down their karma and they're picking up their next story. And my birthday is right at that line, too. So I don't know where it's going, but we'll get through it. And that's time now to play a game. That was fun. And we'll do puzzles instead of saying happy birthday. Before we get into all the Lemuria stuff we have going on, we want to do a collective read and a zodiac weather. But Scott, we're going to do a History's Mystery segment where we ping your psychic awareness to see if you know or sense anything about these topics.
Okay. Let's see, because I know nothing about this stuff. So,
Well, actually, this would be a fun game too, just to go into psychic side and see if our guides pick up anything comes to us. And people, you can play at home too. You can play at home if you're intuitive. Play at home. Go in. See if your psychic side says anything about this. And that was it. No, I'm kidding. Mount Shasta.
What about it? What's the question?
Okay. Well, it's like, do you pick up anything? But that's the game.
Okay, Mount Shasta, for me, it feels like an upward vortex to me. So there could be a lot of great creativity, I would say, that can be inspired at Mount Shasta, but I also feel like it could bring a lot of chaos too, depending on how you utilize that energy of an upward vortex, right? So that means we can be pulled up, and then also whatever we pull down into physical reality could be chaotic. So I think it's a very powerful energy, but again, it could really emphasize duality. So I would say if you're going to go to Mount Shasta for whatever purpose, make sure it's if you want to know more about yourself, be prepared that the negative will come too.
Negative. For me, only negative. Like it put me in my place twice. And I went back, yeah. I mean, I'm in at 9, and the belief is that Mount Shasta is the root chakra of the earth, and so therefore, the root chakra, red, male, Mars. Mostly Mars, even though she's a female. And as a 9 myself, I was put in check everywhere. My 9 was too far. It was just abundantly shown to me, right? Which I was happy for, but it was just hard in that place. Pretty intense.
Yeah. But I was saying that it's accelerating change and growth too. So you probably just got hit with it harder than you would, you probably got it in little doses. But I think that the acceleration makes you kind of blossom quicker. So you'll see bigger change. So that's what I'm saying with you. This new birthday, big transformation because of that.
Yeah, but growing quicker is like being on the toilet for 2 hours. It's like, fine. You're growing quicker. But there's a process and a labor that's not fun.
I'll play dumpy dump. Yeah, I know. I get it.
Yeah, it's just like, one time I went there, though. The last time I went there for an alien thing, and Wendy Kennedy was there.
Yeah.
And, we worked with her, and she actually hovered her hands over me. I kid you not. Like, she hovered her hands. She also has like light language. So she's like, which at first, like, okay, you know, like, it's just so different. But actually, I actually felt better in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
2 minutes, I just felt it pour off my body. I was like, I told her that was the first time I've ever had something like that, where someone just snapped their fingers basically and make it go away. It just all went away. I could not believe it.
Right. Well, it's a powerful energy. So again, it's like you proceed with caution too, because if you're like wanting something, you'll get it. And sometimes you'll get it in ways that you didn't think you'd get it. But a great upward vortex for me, I would say.
Well, it's Mother Earth's genitals, so you're close. Is what it is. So that's what it is, and it's the beginning of her spinal cord that goes down, you know, the Rockies. What we have written here is it's located in Northern California. Some claim there is a Lemurian or Mu city under the mountain. What does your intuition say about Mount Shasta? That was I was supposed to read you, but I just made you cold read.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. I like the generic stuff too. Bring it on.
Yeah, I think we should. I want to try reading it after, because it's kind of interesting to see what you come up with, and then
okay.
So you didn't pick up on Moo City, but I agree with you on the vortex. I do. There is like being twisted up down thing. There is, absolutely.
I'm not familiar with the whole Moo thing and Lemurian stuff, so I got to get general gist of that because of, you know, decided to talk about the topic. So it's good that I'm kind of blind to it a little bit too with that. So you're saying the city of Mu was actually there in history in that area? Is that what you're saying?
Well, two things. I mean, a port, but then I think they fled there when they knew their country, their nation, water, and they brought some of their libraries there and stuff like that. But Mount Shasta has all sorts of, like, it seems like every mystical creature or gnome has like put up a house there. You know, you can't even like go on the backside of Mount Shasta. You're not allowed. No one's allowed.
Really? Why is that?
Well, we don't know. That's the whole thing. That's a mystery. Oh, they know it sells tickets. I don't know. No, but apparently, I would suspect there's a lot of mystery there. You know, there's a story about Saint Germain wandering around there, and a whole book about him, you know, teaching this mortal or average person all these things right there at Mount Shasta. So there's like a famous book in Lightworker world about that. But you also hear about aliens. You hear about alien stuff around the top.
See, my guess, but my intuitive read is that I think behind that thing is kind of like a portal. So, like, you know, like Bermuda Triangle, people disappear. Maybe people disappear back there.
I actually feel you're right. I feel there is a portal, which is why these things are showing up. You know what I mean? Like, I don't imagine government knows. I mean, shit, there's not even a road back there.
Mm-hmm. Have you checked any ley lines that run through Mount Shasta? Have you checked that at all? No,
and I never have gotten laid there either, so I don't know.
Oh, ley lines, okay.
No, but seriously, I haven't checked it. I mean, my ley lines through California are through Southern mostly. This is up near Sacramento. Yeah. All right, so History's Mysteries. Here's the next topic. I will not read it until after you get a hit. Easter Islands, the Easter Islands.
Easter Islands. It was interesting. The first thing I heard was seeking refuge. So I feel like the Easter Islands, you know, is an area to where I think that would be a very healing energy, a very self-reflective energy where that is. And so, because when I heard seeking refuge, I feel like people would understand how to harvest energy there, and understand how to transform or reformat. Right. I also see in connection to that, like purple crystals. So I don't know if the symbology of purple and violet and crystals somehow channeling that, you know, those elements in that location also brought on healing through those type of mysticisms and so forth. So it feels like a very healing energy, seeking refuge and like almost like a spiritual hospital, so to speak.
True, although it's barren. It's not really barren. It's actually just green hills with weird statues on them called Moai statues, and they're like these big statues. They're tall. They don't know how they got them there. They're pretty well chiseled. Different sort of personalities or people we assume of their history, but some claim, according to our producer here, that the Moai statues are actually from Lemuria or Mu, and this is true. Do you think, now that you've heard that fact, do you think they're from Lemuria, those statues?
Yeah, because when I went to that, my psyche immediately went to like the past and what they would go utilize that space for. So absolutely. And that would actually kind of make sense if it was like a healing, refuge, seeking refuge, because that's what they were very heart focused, at that time. So, and I think they might've just taken shelter there at some point.
Yeah. Well, and chiseled, statues for some reason, or carried them over there. Pretty weird. All right. Here's the next question. Regarding Lemurian crystals, do you pick up that there is actual power in there?
It's interesting because I think that people back in, those back in the historical times, especially Egyptian times too, like I like to always kind of interject that too, they understand physics better. They understand how to astral project. They understand how to project consciousness. So I think they were able to utilize these elements a lot better than we're knowledgeable of. So I think it's the power of where they were at consciously at those times to utilize the energy that I think that we can store in these crystals. So much. So in that sense, yes. Right. I feel like consciousness in that retrospect has been dimmed in modern society. So we wouldn't understand, most people wouldn't understand how to really harness the energy within the crystals or program those crystals in this day and age. So I would say absolutely yes. Those of us who are light workers, I think we can totally harness the energy within such, or even program or project from within it. So yes, but again, it doesn't seem like it's for everybody.
Well, yeah. I mean, first of all, I don't think we have a clue. I do, for everything I've studied, let's put it this way. What I've studied is, or read about, is that yes, both cultures use crystals, but Lemurian were like brilliant at it. And apparently when you read these books about our memories, our records of humans, they're stored in crystals too, allegedly. So, it's interesting.
Well, to me, it's almost like they're more alchemists back then, right? They understood elements and how to like combine elements and use different elements. Like, especially like I was saying in the Egyptian period, they would take certain stone that would vibrate to astral project. They go in these tunes with a certain stone and it would push them to astral project. So they understood how to utilize these elements. So in that sense, I think it's the mind of the alchemist, so to speak, and that was able to harness and utilize that power and take advantage of it.
There's a whole theory about crystals and how things are stored on them. We can go down that rabbit hole another time. But it seems to me when I was reading about them that it's like they actually can tune into the Akashic record. Like
I believe that.
Akashic record, and somehow through your third eye and everything, you can like just go digging around the Akashic records with things like crystals. And so they're weird tools that way. It's interesting.
But there's a lot of synthetic crystals out there too that won't be able to do that process. So if you go to like your normal crystal shop, you may not be able to harness that energy from the ones in the shop. You know what I mean? So I think they found very pure substances at that time that are able to harness that energy.
They did a lot of stuff. We'll talk about it.
Because Christopher, I've seen women who've had like, or friends and have had their whole apartments full of crystals, always sick, and always broke, always alone. Like, I'm like, your crystals aren't working, so
yeah.
So we understand like the natural pure elements and how to utilize the power. We just putting them around you isn't going to do anything.
Well, here's the thing. Now we're going off another tangent, but I think, for one, I think the Earth was a lot more ahead. First of all, I think the Earth is in a certain place where we were kind of one with the Earth more. And so a crystal, something I think is tiny as a crystal. When we were connected, it had a big influence on us. We really felt the gravity of it. But I think in the Dark Ages, we just sort of like pulled back and distanced ourselves from the whole world and started hiding. And so our senses are way asleep, I feel.
Totally, because we got reliant upon ideologies and religion. That became our tools, and it's like that's what dumbed us down.
All in the mind, and so the mind can be controlled. So, anyways, I don't know. We might get goosebumps one day when the crystal goes by, because it seems to be able to reshape energy. And if we become sensitive to feeling energy, I can see where it could actually help. But right now, it doesn't do shit. Right?
Yeah, I agree.
It doesn't. I don't feel anything. I actually will talk to some. I mean, believe it or not, there's like a little cute kind of voice. I don't know why. It's always kind of cute, childlike, but so that comes up every now and then. And usually it's like drop me, take me. Very simple. Seriously.
That was your date last night. It was not a crystal. I'm sorry.
Well, they kind of I know they tell you when they want to leave and stop, and they want to, when your journey's over, they tell you, I'm done, I'm leaving.
Yeah, but see, I have that with plants too. Certain plants, like I have a connection to, and so I just think it's really us. We're the alchemists that can harness the energy and program, right, and build that relationship. I think people have it wrong. They think they're harnessing from the crystal versus we're the ones, amplifying the energy and allowing ourselves to be psychic to channel it through it in a sense, right? I think that people are using too much of the external power versus the internal activation that brings out the power within it ourselves. I think
that's
people
probably true. That's probably true. Actually, we're looking for results in our body, and that's not where the power will be. It won't be like pain. It'll be something spiritual and subtle. Absolutely.
It's like a divine revelation, a divine expansion of consciousness, like a divine, like the realization that we do have the connection to the Akashic records. You know what I mean? Like you start recognizing that your power is expanding, your sensory is expanding. The mediumship aspects, the psychic aspects, they just become like more innate. You know,
Well, they're
Just like-
expanding. They're expanding and collapsing, from what I understand.
yeah.
You know, I think they were open, then they closed. That's what I'm hearing. You know, because of some sort of cycle the Earth is on. So here, we'll move on our questions and finish this one up. This is great. Every one of these opens up a conversation. Every one of these. What caused the destruction of Lemuria or Mu? Do you see anything?
You said what caused the destruction?
Yeah, of Lemuria.
Okay. Oh, gotcha. Let me see. Interesting. They're saying ambition, right? But it's in a sense of the ambition in the wrong context. It feels like to me where there's an ambition to change, but not allowing people to be themselves. So almost like shooting themselves in the foot because they got ahead of themselves and not allowing other people to be in their own divine purpose. Like we see good, but our good has to be the way the whole world has to be. That's where I feel like the collapse happened with the Lemurian energy.
That's actually historically accurate, according to what we.
Is it?
Yeah, because that force telling them to be something was Atlantis putting their like Western kind of will onto Lemuria, which is more like Hawaii. We want to have sex and eat cookies and just be one with the animals. And I think Atlanteans were very judgmental, like these natives. They need to learn. But at the same time, they had more intelligent healing, more intelligent crystals, more intelligent genetics. Like they were way beyond Atlantis. Atlantis took all that stuff from them.
Right.
We're here, yeah. Very interesting. That was spot on. From what history says, I don't know. Why was that?
Yeah, and again, I know nothing on the topic. That's why I was even tell the audience I was kind of like questioning whether I wanted to do this topic because I didn't know anything about it. But I'm like, you know what? Why not? Let's shoot the shift on it.
You're right. You're strangely better on these shows.
Fuck off.
Just kidding. Next question. Okay. All right. Is there power in Lemurian? Oh, wait, I'm way behind. Okay. Where was Lemuria or Mu geographically?
Oh God. This one's hard for me because I get essences on it, right? So if I get an imagery of it, like I'm seeing definitely like mountains and hills, right? But then I'm also seeing surrounded by water too. So, God, my geography is horrible on this. I know I'm gonna probably be wrong on this one because my geography sucks, but I get a very Mediterranean energy. Yeah. I'm bad. I don't know, but I just know I see like these huge cliffs and mountains, but I'm seeing water by it. You know, in a sense. So that's the best I can do with geography. So
okay, that was remote viewing. That wasn't geography. You're doing great.
Okay.
Without a map, you don't know, right? Sometimes my guides will be like, here on the map. And I'm like, well, what the fuck is that? I
need a map.
That is geography. I need a map to go see where you're pointing.
I need a map.
It's rumored that, it basically was along the Pacific Rim. So, like, apparently, they had many islands, like Hawaii and stuff in the center of the ocean.
Okay.
Pacific Ocean. And then, allegedly, they had, like, all sorts of colonies, like, along what is now Seattle. I think some in California. I think, and they're on the side of Japan and alongside Japan. So they kind of, and even Australia, I think there was their colonies and stuff. So they're basically the West, the West to us or the Pacific Ocean.
It's interesting because the imagery I got looked like Kauai to me.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? So like the huge green mountains, but then surrounded by the water. So like that's how the imagery looked to me in my mind. So if it's Hawaii, that can be very similar to the images I'm getting, the vibe I'm getting.
Wow, that's interesting. I wonder if that'd be funny in your head if you start seeing commercials for shit. Just
What commercials I mean?
Just not only the image, but it's brought to you by something in heaven. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, man, I do normally. I just see people think, and then we talked about this before the show. Like I'm always speaking from what I'm intuitively feeling. So people think it's like you said, what's the difference between logic and intuition? I'm like, I've been working on my psychic ability since I was a child. That I only speak from what I'm intuitively feeling. Like my opinions are just like I like pizza. I like this music, and everything else is just a read for me in life.
Yeah, and actually, I like though when I see you go into it. Like when I see you go into it and you like you do on your show. On your show, you'll sit there and you'll be like, be quiet for a second. We're all like, are we supposed to do something right now? You just like kind of leave. I think it's cool, but I think we have one more of these. And speaking of commercials, I think we should take one now. We're out of time, actually. That'll be a good show, folks. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, good day.
The last one is, let's see. I think there's not any other predictions this week ahead. Okay, so we're going to talk about basically our astrology now. I thought it was one more example. Sorry, folks. But should we take a break now and then talk the astrology? Let's do
Yeah,
this.
we'll get back to astrology. We're reshift.
The Unite the Light Lightworker Summit is reborn in 2025, May 17th to the 19th, reincarnating in Nashville, Tennessee, the capital of country music life. If you live to make the world a better place, we invite you to gather and co-create for 2 days. Day 1, meet curated, heartfelt influencers sharing strategies and innovation. Day 2 calls for conscious conversations. Lightworker power panelists discuss industry urgent topics. And for the first time, you requested, we co-created a third day, a 36-hour, ultra-private, closed-door Whisper Summit. We call it Afterglow, where 2 or more gather, featuring high-wattage leaders of light who share unpublished career advice and trade secrets. It all takes place in the luxurious Gaylord Opryland Hotel, where you may enjoy a full spa, poolside drinks, and tasty dining. And don't miss our Honky Tonk Sumper and Step Networking event happening Saturday night. Wear cowboy attire, feast, and learn astro secrets about you and cosmic allies. Consider this an invitation. Let us celebrate our ascension at the brightest gathering of love in the world. Ticket sales are open now at unitethelight.love. That's unitethelight.love.
We were told the world works a certain way. Chase success, play the game, follow the rules. But what if the game is rigged? What if your power was never really lost, just misplaced? Soul Capitalist isn't just a book, it's a wake-up call. A roadmap for reclaiming your power and rewriting your story on your own terms. Because changing the world doesn't start with a movement. It starts with you. It starts with creating a world that reflects your highest self. Soul Capitalist is a guide back to your truth. A call to awaken your inner power and lead from the light within. Soul Capitalist, how to take back your power and change the world. Available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
Unite the Light is coming to Nashville, and we're honored to support these local conscious businesses. Join our growing list of high-vibing Nashville sponsors and receive special discounts, incentives, and advertising extras while promoting your light to our attendees. Contact Jenny at adintuitive.com to get started. We'll see you in Nashville.
Wow, that was an abrupt ending. I think it's funny because we're all like professional, commercial, and like, and if we're serious, contact Jenny.
At Jenny at AOL.com.
Make it like super, like just call her Jenny. It's true. It is that small.
Jens.
Yeah, Unite the Light,
Jens
folks,
does.
guys. We have some really cool stuff happening, and we are planning ahead. You know, for those who can't make it, there are streaming tickets available, and there's discounts everywhere. In fact, you can come to my Facebook page if you want, and I'll give you my discount code if you want to save money. There's all kinds of discount codes. The biggest one, though, is if you go to Serious Joy and become a subscriber, which is $4 for the first month. So you'll save a lot of money, $61 at least, if you're a subscriber. It's a no-brainer, and it's only 30 days. But we're excited. We have a lot planned, and we think it's going to be a great show for watching from abroad or watching somewhere else and having watch parties, because we're putting a lot into the show behind the scenes this year and boosting that up and making the online presence cooler. So... but it's actually falling into place at the last minute. It's kind of nerve-wracking, Scott.
I'm sure, yeah. It's a lot. It's on your plate.
Hold basin. Okay. Yeah. So we're excited.
Because you don't have my help. That's why. This time.
I think it's just a year. I mean, you're
Yes, it's astrology.
we
It's
can have you come
astrology.
in. If we don't have you walking around saying, "Dude, change this and change that," yeah, we are.
I ain't doing that. You know, yeah. There's none of that. The spice. But speaking about the astrology, what's going on with the astrology now?
A lot of shift is happening.
Yeah.
You know, I think in Aries was pretty intense in the sense of, well, we were really shifting egos. I mean, either way, you know, we spiritually did a lot of healing, believe it or not. And so our ego needed to adjust in Aries. And so our ego had to adjust, whether you believe in spirituality or just plain old Rocky. You know, the ego is kind of getting back on its feet a little bit, just feeling stronger after having been held back since like all back to really COVID, where we've just been holding ourselves, right? Holding ourselves back, afraid to sort of act. So we kind of got our muscles back in Aries. Then, of course, the stock market does a dip and everyone kind of gets afraid. Right. And then in Taurus now, it's about, okay, we have this new motive inside of ourselves, a new spiritual motive. Well, I believe we have a new ancient timeline actually loading. But even if you don't believe that, we have a new timeline loading. This next part, none of us have ever felt before, ever. I mean, or we did in ancient Atlantis and Lemuria, but we certainly had felt it in a long time, if that's the case.
Right.
So it's basically, all of our history, that's written down and controlled by a few people and publishers now, that sort of thing. It doesn't include that we once were even brighter or whatever, right? So we have nothing in our history of even society even being worth something, right? Like everywhere in our history, society's always sucked, right? War, everything. But this is allegedly a world where it was amazing. So I wonder, I think about it, because when I was a kid, I would dream about utopia kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, one day and the world can be this. And I actually use my imagination and problem solved and all these type of things. Now I'm like, was I just remembering it the way it was?
Right.
Was it maybe imagination at all? Maybe it was my memories. And I think as Pluto goes up through Aquarius, we're going to find out. But so astrologically, there's a lot this week. For one, we had the new moon on Sunday, April 27th at 7 degrees Taurus. Now, this new moon, 7 is your spirit, so it's a very sensitive, it's a Neptune degree. So on that step number, we're kind of all a little kind of here and not there. We're kind of with our guides more than with anything, or we are withdrawn. So we're kind of sensitive as a result. But I'll tell you, the energy before on Saturday, we had a Mars opposition to Pluto. That was intense. I mean, it was such intensity before the new moon that our people, our team is all like, it felt like a full moon.
Yeah.
Did you feel it up there in the mountains or hanging out? Or yeah.
Well, I mean, I really felt like, Spirit was like saying, do you believe in this? Do you believe in this? Do you believe in it? It was almost like testing, beliefs that I have or things that, that I'm following. Right. And also like irritations were full force in my face. Like, is this going to irritate you now? Like, it's just like, it felt like it was I was being challenged every step of the way. And I found myself falling victim to the aggravation, but then allowing myself to snap out of it, and I recognize too, I'm kind of just be a little transparent, a little personal for a moment. I've gotten so obsessed with bringing spirituality down to earth and grounding for people that I've lost a lot of my mystical, perceptions and perspectives, and I realized I need to bring that back in, when it comes to a lot of the other mystical, besides being psychic and medium, but as far as quantum physics, quantum mechanics, and how reality is structured, and reaching extraterrestrial, interdimensional beings, and talking about all those wonderful things I used to be so embedded with that, Spirit's like, go back into that again. You've gotten so grounded. Let's lift it a little bit. So that to me is an indication that we collectively are about to start lifting up and rising up too, and things might become more fluffy duffy, and Aries season is always kind of like a pain in the ass, when we get into the Aries, it's very a pain. And so
as the pain in the asses were born.
Right. And hemorrhoids and preparation H was invented during that time too. And so I really feel that, I'm glad I moved during that time. I'm glad that I was able to direct that energy and unloading the pod, but I really feel that things are about to get lighter. And I'm not saying it's because of politics or what's going on in politics. Politics, or everybody in this reality, in this collective consciousness, in this matrix, are pawns for our storylines, for our collective storyline. So we shouldn't be so focused on the pieces of the game and focusing on where the game is actually going. So we shouldn't be fixated on the people, just be fixated on how we're evolving. But I feel things are becoming a lot lighter.
Actually, I do too, and I've had some conversations with some friends like you, lightworkers, where I'm like, I'm not sure when it happened. I think it happened somewhere between November and January. I mean, in April, but I suddenly did not feel any possibility of it going wrong ever. Like I always felt looming, and then something's looming, and it wasn't horrible, but it's just something was there. I could feel energy, like something's looming. Now I don't feel anything. It's like bright. There's nothing. It's gone. And I've been like, did something turn off with me? But I've talked to a couple of intuitives. They're like, no, I feel the same thing. I feel just there's no possibility to be bad at all. Like to a calming, no argument at all, no doubts. Whereas my whole life I was worried about it. So
it's interesting when I'm seeing people that we're used to be so fear. Like we'll talk politics, for example. People were so in fear about what was going to be happening, on the other side of the picture. Now people are just kind of calling it out and just like, they seem like stronger, not so much embedded in the fear, but more like calling shit out and like more, I would say, determined. I would say I'm seeing an energy in the collective, less falling victim, which is nice to see.
Really? Okay. So for me, I've been just isolated deliberately. I'm in my studios. I'm just building stuff, and I do this. I kind of retreat, and then I go back out and see what's going on again. But I felt like, to me, it's just all nothing burger in the sense that I feel strong now, and I'm just like I'm not worried about anything that we were worried about during COVID, and those kind of worries. I went down certain rabbit holes. Like none of that for me. Feel none of that. So, so I think what we're describing is this new premise, and this new premise is the new timeline. That's what I would argue, that we both have the new premises in life, and everyone has a new premise, and that's what it kind of felt like over the weekend was. We were removing one premise and then giving labor to another premise. And I think that's why the new moon was intense, because we were loading up, I think, a story that will last for 50 years at minimum, this next story, whatever it is, 50 minutes. Right. Yeah.
But have you felt this too? Because I felt like 5 or 6 years ago, there was a merging of timelines. Now I feel like there's a demerging of timelines. Do you feel that too?
Yeah, I mean, I've been told that recently. I mean, I was asking around because I was hearing different stories like, can I really so there are people on the bad bus, we just wave goodbye, and we know they're going to die, and they're waving goodbye to us, and they're like, we're going to die, or like, what's going to happen? Are we both living at the same time? You get to choose or whatever. And so, but the Palladian said through Wendy is like, no, there's a timeline. Like Earth has a timeline. And then I've heard another one where it's like, well, my guys are saying when people reincarnate off, because what happens is if the whole Earth is going high and getting higher and higher in frequency, and you have stayed stuck, you're going to get sicker and sicker. I think your body's just going to start to decay. It just can't handle it.
It's more density.
I think
people more dense.
It's like a gravity literally pulls you kind of apart because you're refusing and staying at the bottom, and the Earth's like, well, I'm going up, so it's going to get stretched into sort of an infinity kind of thing. And that's what was shown, that there's a new Earth. Someone told me there's a new Earth, so to speak, or the next version, or her sister, or the next model, whatever. Where if you want to stay in this level, well, great, we got a place for you.
Right.
Again, yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. And then was there a third option there? I think there was. Nope, that's pretty much it. You have to reincarnate.
It's the same thing anyway. It's just like there's a new paradigm, being built, right? And so even if it's a merging or demerging, at some point, like something activated a lot of people's past karma and trauma, so it was spurging out. So I think people have healed, so it's creating a different, paradigm. So either way, if it's a demerging or
hi, I guess I'm live and he's not. Demerging, or can you all guess? We're gonna have you. Oh, okay, he's back. We started a contest to see what word you froze on, but you came back too quickly.
Oh gosh, am I back now? Okay,
you are. Yeah.
I don't know why I'm hardwired to the. I don't know why it's. I mean,
there's weird stuff like that. There's weird tech stuff going on too. I mean, it's been going on for a while.
Isn't it? Okay, because even starting up, I was like, oh, my lights weren't kind of getting situated. So okay.
And I hear solar flares and Schumann resonance. I mean, here it's all just blasting back and forth. Astrologically, we have Venus going to Aries today. We talked about that. So Venus is the softest thing we have, and we're throwing her into like a rocky, smolten place like Aries. So she's going to be there feeling a little naked, which means we're going to get a little tougher. Our feminine sides get tougher while Venus is in Aries, and she's not as open to everything energetically. We're not as open to everything, and we're a bit more focused. We're kind of going down the pipeline. Black Moon Lilith at 3 Scorpio is squaring Pluto at 3 Aquarius today. So Pluto, that was basically a battle about whether or not you believe in yourself.
Interesting. That hits right on what I was saying before, my personal experience about like, do you believe this? Do you believe this? Do you believe this?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And so, those watching who have been tested with your beliefs, like it's a good thing. It's like a check-in, because you might realize maybe you're believing things that were shortchanging yourself, And so, I think when people look at astrology sometimes, Christopher, they always look at the bad. What is the bad thing? Don't do this during the time. It's like it's a polarity. Like you just harnessing energy in a way that's going to empower you. I mean, I had people say, "Oh, my such and such is a such and house. I can't move there now at this time because the energy will be chaotic." I'm like, but chaos can be good too for you. You could defragment and also have a lot of inspiration come through too. It doesn't always have to be negative. So I want people to understand this during this time, that the tests don't have to be negative. It could be just a recalibration, just I've been saying for the past couple weeks, like reconsideration, redirection,
I never see anything as negative, really. Honestly, I think at the end of the day, the whole ride is rigged for people to get better. The whole ride is rigged for you to go higher to God. Like, seriously, you can't even be dark for a long time. Like you get recycled to it. Like, I think aliens are getting away with it because they left, but whatever.
And they're laughing too.
Yeah. Venus conjuncts Neptune at 1 degree on Friday, May 2nd. And so that's after, Venus has to deal with Black Moon and square dance in that sense. Or Venus actually enters into Aries and feels kind of rushed. That's what I was thinking. Then she goes over Neptune at 1. And that is like, I don't know, some sort of new age drug. I mean, Venus on Aries. First of all, Venus has not made love to Neptune at 1 degree Aries since the Civil War time.
Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln was the last president when this happened. I keep saying that over and over, but it's true. Abraham Lincoln was the last president when this happened. So we've never even had this. And what's funny is like Venus is like, the maiden, and she goes wandering into the military camp, and then the entire world goes to war. That's weird too.
Right.
It's weird too.
Yeah.
Hi, April. Do you see April's on there?
Yeah. Hey, April. She called because I moved to Sparks, Nevada. She's like, I feel like that's going to be good for you. I'm like, of course, Mrs. Sparks will know about Sparks, Nevada, right? So.
Oh, that's interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So that's going to rough things up. And then Saturday, May 4th, may the 4th be with you. Pluto retrogrades at 3 degrees. So Pluto's about to retrograde. Now, that's also a big stop. That's a weird thing because Pluto's basically a destructive force, which is kind of like slowly digging a hole, literally slowly digging a hole, right? And killing things on the side and just regurgitating everything that's around it. And all of a sudden it just stops and then starts to back up, right? So when it backs up, it's like, okay, the destruction is over. The core first blast or the first hit is over, which means from that point on, the things are going to fall apart, or things that are already identified or cracked or spoke out or screamed. Like nothing new at this point. Pluto's got no new territory to do, but you sort of go backwards and you kind of reevaluate of what has been torn down. Sometimes by good intentions torn down. It's a consequence of the karma. Pluto, the enforcer. So it retrograding means that's a big shift in the story's direction. We're kind of watching really the results of the last 6 months.
Yeah, I agree. But this is what alchemy is. When you understand the destruction, chaotic energy, and how to utilize that to manifest, like that's what alchemy really is understanding how to manipulate energy like that. And so energy cannot stay at one level. It's got, if you look at a wavelength, it's up and down, right? And so, I mean, if you flatline, there's no life. And so we have to have movements. So we need to understand how to utilize the down moments, right? And we're having those down moments and how to also utilize that till we have an up moment. So I think when people understand how to utilize these circumstances, these emotions, these moods, these energies, that we become the alchemists in that sense to manipulate the energy the way it's going to work in our favor, and we can ride those waves, ride those currents. And that's how I would say how we navigate. And so I think right now, like moving forward, especially with the month of May, it's important for us to understand and find the alchemist within during this time. And how are we going to utilize this energy for the movement that we want? Because like you said, Christopher, if you're not going to be moving along with the current, you will get sick. The density will be cumbersome, right? And everything that you've been struggling will get increased and get greater until you get frustrated, until you push yourself into movement. So it's very important that we're self-reflective in that way. But I think we have to stop deeming things as bad. This is bad experiences, and understand it's a downtick. What are you going to do to utilize that downtick to push and reinforce the uptick in your wavelength?
Yeah. Spoken like a true Aquarius, brother. I think that conversation you just had was a new age conversation. You're sitting there going, we need to get used to energy. We need to have a strategy when the energy does this and a strategy when the energy does that. Like, that's Aquarius. That is it right there. We start thinking on these new wavelengths, literally, of how to react to stuff. And I agree, it's totally energetic, and that's what we're waking up to slowly. But also, the waves are getting bigger and more intense. I mean, they were so subtle. I think the reason why they had to go to the Himalayas to meditate and all that stuff during the Dark Ages is because you had to go like extreme just to get a signal. I don't think we had signal in heaven as easy as we do now.
Interesting.
The signal, like the internet, was like down. So you had to really go high up, and you have to like meditate and hold still for like 2 days, and all kinds of crazy stuff just to get the signal. Now I think it's like it's tapping us on the shoulder. It's so loud.
I think that, but I think it's we're more aware. We've evolved too, so it also makes it kind of like at our fingertips, and I think, and there's a lot of people, we talked about this before the show too, a lot of people have been, and we'll get into the crystals that, they used in Lemuria too, and Lemurians used in type of how to harness energy, but I think now we're starting to recognize it is within. A lot of people are starting to recognize it, and naturally. I see a lot of people are more natural with their abilities. They're not having to like seek out different modalities, different tools. They're just like, they're having their dreams. Right? They're getting that message from a level that crossed over like this, right?
Yeah, they are.
And I think that, people are gravitating even to sacred geometry. I've been seeing, I know you have a guest speaker too, that you spoke with that was very much into sacred geometry as well. And I see a lot more people there's a lot more people I see are unconsciously connecting with a lot of sacred geometry and their tattoos and the work that they're doing. And so there's a lot of that, I would say, reminiscences of our spiritual past and our past incarnations that are resurfacing as of late. So I think people are being remembered when they had connection to source, connection to spirit. And I think I'm seeing a lot more people. Well, I don't think I'm seeing. Thinking is a bad habit to say because my thinking is my intuition. But I really see and I'm observing people, find their natural hidden, mystical talents as of late.
Me too. Actually, you're talking about Robert Edward Grant.
Yes.
He is going to be our mastermind keynote. So our key mastermind, so what we're talking, conversation. We're going to have a conversation with him. He goes all over the map in metaphysics. But here's the thing. He started very sciencey. Although I think he was religious as a child, but also very logical, very sciencey. But, somehow the guy's like opened up the crystals and all these varieties of things that, I was shocked that he was so open and calm to. It was like, of course. I was like, oh,
right.
Wow, okay. But I think part of his work is the blending of science and spirituality kind of thing. Again, we're seeing these things. Yeah.
I think when you dive into true science, Christopher, I think it's impossible to not be spiritual. When you dive into the true science and tap into the ethers and the cosmos, it'd be almost impossible to not be spiritual.
Or a fool that, I think it's like, yes. And 2 million years later, they formed a family which became human. It's like, no, come on. That's as dumb as God going like this and snapping his fingers. I don't think it was that either, 7 days and that thing. So I think we're just young and that sort of thing. And this is going to unfold. This is the exciting part, I think, of this new era right here, this conversation. Like it is, and it's going to it. I'm seeing places, just to say, I'm seeing people talk about stuff, and I'm like, what? You had a, another thing was astrology. I'll tell people, I'm an astrologer, and like, oh my God, I'm a this with this rising and this moon. I'm like, holy crap. Like, I used to have to explain, when I started, 19 years ago, I had to explain those terms.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone, the moon is this, and the horizon is that. Now everyone comes to me with their credentials, basically.
Right. And the rising. And I've had an influx, and because when I, first started, I'm sure too, it's all just mainly like 99.9% female clients. I have so much rise in male clients, straight males too, not just gay males, but straight males, where they're coming from their wives and they're needing guys. I'm like, I've had a lot of male clients too, which is showing that the divine masculine is, finding its potential too, and merging with the divine feminine. So it's been a joy actually. And that to connect with more of the male energy in this space too.
We can go down these rabbit holes, but like not just a joy, but a pleasure, like interesting to watch.
Yeah,
like to have like a cowboy figure, like and then I had this vision of me and Atlantis, and you know what? It's like what? Just like cliches are like just crossing. It's like really funny that way. But we're supposed to talk about Lemuria, so let's move on because you and I are and Gabby tonight, and it's great. This is the new us. We're talking about Mu Lemuria. Now the reason why it was called Lemuria is because some explorer was looking for lemurs somewhere, and on his voyage looking for lemurs, he saw the land or something, and he named it Lemuria. So we've actually been calling it Lemuria for only about 200 years. It was ancient time Mu, but this was a civilization older than Atlantis that was inhabited by spiritually advanced beings with psychic powers, crystal techniques, and deep harmony with nature. They were either 4D or 5D reality. I hear both. We'll talk about that. What does society that is heart-centered look like and feel like? That's the real question. What does that feel like? Harmony.
Is that a question for me?
Harmony. Yeah. Well, that's the question. I'm not sure. She didn't write who's supposed to answer it, but I think that's what we talk about.
Well, yeah, we could discuss it. And for me, and that's I used to think I was heart-centered years ago until I realized I wasn't heart-centered years ago because I was still trying to check a box. I really feel like I've begun my journey of understanding that. Especially as an aqua, right? Gosh. But, I've started to recognize, like, I'm not concerned of conditions. I'm not concerned of circumstance. I'm concerned about the knowledge I obtain from them, right? And to me, I understand that knowledge is what protects my soul, and that's what allows my soul to merge and expand. And so, therefore, I'm not concerned. It's the experiences I'm pulling from them and how I'm allowing myself to broaden perspective. And that means that everything I'm doing, I'm putting love into. Right, regardless of circumstance, and I know we hear this, and I'm repetitive on this too, but I really feel that when we understand what that truly means, right? Like I'm not concerned with circumstance. I'm putting love into things. It's about the evolution. When you fully get to that point, life becomes where you don't feel you're bound to anything, and it really is all about what you're putting heart into anything. You're putting heart into grocery shopping, putting heart into what you're eating, and it becomes very innate and natural. And I think that is who we really are. you know. So it takes time to get there. I mean, I've beat myself up a lot along the years, and I would urge people to not beat yourselves up, but it's okay to be critical if you're being objective and allowing yourself to maybe tweak things that need to be tweaked, but do it in love too. That's, you'll get to be more heart focused. And that also means, and I don't want to be long-winded either, but it also means that you are coming from intuition at all times. You're speaking from intuition. So I have a bad habit of saying I think, but my think is my processing of my intuition, right? Because I'm processing what I'm reading. So when I'm saying I think, I'm like, this is my intuition, I'm rendering it into physical words. It becomes so innate that way. And then also the 4D, 5D heart-centered aspect means that you understand what people are going through. You're not judgmental, you're not reactive or offended by how people treat you. Understand it, but you also set the boundaries for yourself. But there's not objectivity. And as you know, Christopher, I say all the time, like objective and unaffected, right? That's the goal. And so you start seeing more of that in your life and see why things fit together the way they do. And I've been getting hints of being on that journey, and that's where I feel the most free, actually. And where I don't take myself too seriously or take others too seriously. And I think coming on social media a year and a half ago was a big test to that, but I think I needed that test. But that's to me where I think being heart focused and heart centered really, really means.
Whew.
Sorry,
I felt your heart the whole time.
Good, I wanted you to.
For me, it's like there are days when I wake up and I'm like, I fucking love my life, and I love my life, and I love this, I love that, and I'm just like in love with everything. I feel like that's where we're heading. I mean, that's where at least I'm steering my ship. Where those are genuine. I've had those days where I'm genuine. I'm just high on life, and I'm excited. I'm singing. I'm tapping around. I'm walking around my underwear. I should be dressed by now. That kind of shit. Like, we're gonna be late for LOL. Better stop singing. Stop singing this song. I'm
Don't tell me to stand up right now.
So the truth's coming out. Why I've always been late. But no, and that's a genuine. It's like you don't even have to say heart centered. The heart's taken over.
Right.
Like, completely taken over in that moment. Can we always live that way? I do feel like we can, actually. I don't think really, I'm starting to think now as I look at history and everything has changed. I'm like, wait a second, maybe it was never really bad. Like we made it bad. Like this whole, woods and animals will kill you and all this stuff. All the shit we think is bad and it's a harsh world, only the toughest survive. Or was that just after Atlantis and stuff? Like, was it built real? Maybe it was just fucking perfect. Because from what I understand, it was created. Like Atlantis was created, Lemur was created. These are civilizations, aliens that came down and like, okay, here's how you do it. Right. And it was built with their knowledge from the get-go. I almost think too that the whole alien thing, like we're not getting in the way with you humans. We're not. Is that just defensive posture because you did it the first time with Atlantis? Because they did. They just were like, here's how you do it, and then we all went crashing and like, oh, we'll just keep our nose out of it, or I don't know. But there's something like that. I think to Lemuria's time. So heart-centered, I feel heart-centered is also that you ask your heart. So it's in Serious Joy, we try to teach like who has the answer inside of you. Who has the answer? Is your mind? Do your feelings have the answer? Do your bowels? Or does your heart? And we found that it's bowels or heart most of the time. Like, no, seriously, your heart has the best answer for you. But if you listen to it, like if of all the voices, it has to me, that's also heart-centric in a strategic way. Ask your heart for the question, and you will never be steered wrong.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think people think heart, that means it's all about like lovey-dovey energy. And it's like love has different formats. Love also comes with the zeal, right? Love also comes with an anger, right? There could be a passion or a zeal for something. That's heart-based too. Like, I got to change this. There needs to be a revolution here. Like, that's heart-based too. It doesn't always mean that you're like, I'm in love yet, because that's just one note. And so I think that people understand when you feel a zeal to something, a desire, determination, that's heart-focused too. And of course, yes, it is like Soul Capitalist said, there is, without that noise, there is. I know,
what is that? We have sound effects this week. I know.
There is that empathy. I mean, but to me, the empathy is a result when you're heart focused. You're just empathetic naturally. There's no having to work on that.
Yeah, because if you're in your heart, your nature of your heart. Oh, there's another. Yeah, okay. This is our director. If I go, this isn't it. But like, if you're in your heart, there's a ding that was right. So what do we get for the next round? When you're in your heart, you want everyone to be there in that joy with you. You want everyone there with you. You naturally, you give a baby something yummy to eat. Right. Baby's like, here, have it too. Like the baby wants to give you right away a bite.
That's right.
Because the nature of the heart is like to connect. When you feel in love, is to connect and to share. Totally. It's hard to resist it too.
Yep.
It's only like 2 feet in. You're like, that's not my wife. Like your heart's just going for it.
Yep.
So back to Lemuria. Apparently that was the way they lived. I mean, It makes sense if you go to Hawaii now, which is allegedly like the last standing land of Lemuria. So I know when I went there, I didn't feel like doing like anything but eating and sleeping, basically eating and sleeping. So like, it lured me into just life itself. I forgot in that vortex. The worker me was just like not here. It was authentic, so the vibe got me. Now, what about they had crystal technology? Apparently, they're in communication with nature. They had healing domes that used vibration, light, and color to restore the mind, body, and spirit. You remember those? Crystals allowed telepathic linking and were used for long distance communication. So it's like I guess we beam us from each other to each other. Ancient version of the internet, basically, with these crystals, spiritually attention and consciousness. And I guess there were large crystal complexes, pyramids or spires, acted as portals or stargates, enabling interdimensional travel or contact with star beings like Pleiadians or Arcturians. Yeah, interesting. I think so true. Now, so from what I hear, they're also all of our like Aquaman, and all that sort of thing is like still Lemuria, mermaids, Lemuria, like the whole ocean, half human, half whatever fish idea was Lemurian stuff. That's our Lemurian legend, apparently, right? Yeah, and it was more the natural side. So that's what let's see what else we have here. Yeah, that's it. We're closing. So
I mean, there's obviously like, and just reading like some of the types of crystals, like some would be more about sound, some would capture about light energy, right? Thought energy, water energy, fire energy. So I think they, like we said in the beginning, I'm like, they knew how to utilize these certain components, these certain elements, Earth's elements, and able to invoke energy and to project energy. So I think that, it's good that we take that information and understand the potentials that we can do now. But like I said before, like you both kind of agreed on, is that people are realizing we can just do that now with our minds. We can do it now with just projecting consciousness. And so
I think, so if we lifted rocks, I mean, allegedly, first of all, the pyramids, and that's something, Robert was talking about, the pyramids today with construction companies and stuff, we could not build the pyramids. We don't have technology today. We cannot do it. It's too big of a mass. We can't lift one of those stones, with our machines. So allegedly they used crystals. I mean, crystals somehow sped up the energy and made it multiply off itself or something. There's a sacred geometric kind of superpower when you just direct the energy maybe a lot to bounce off of itself. I don't know. But apparently we had that kind of technology where we understood how we could take advantage of the crystalline and energy and force energy through it. But a human still had to sort of steer. So there's an interaction with human.
Even fascinated about like older cathedrals, like how the grand they are with the gravings and the carvings and the curvature of the architecture. Like they didn't have machinery back then. And even those, you remember those skulls that they found, like this, was it like 12 skulls they found around that they were like crystallized skulls, and they said there's no way that could have been cut without a machine. Right. They found it, and how old they are. And so, they understood something with physics and understood something with using Earth's elements in order to manipulate energy that, I think that when people start, I think the whole mockery of like, oh, I have a crystal, this is going to provide me healing is not how simplistic it is. It's not just taking a crystal, I'm going to be healed from this. There's an alchemy, like I said before, there's a process of understanding that we need to dive into so we can maybe harness more of that energy and project it. But I don't know, Christopher, I feel like we're becoming more consciousness focused right now to where I think we're evolving out of needing tools. I don't know. I think the manifestation thing, sorry to go long-winded again, I think the manifestation thing will become more of an obvious than it has been.
Yes, it's becoming extremely obvious to me. But I also feel lots of things are happening. I still feel like we probably need a crystal to raise like, a rock the size of, Atlanta. So we lift something heavy like that. Probably gonna use some crystals. I don't know if my mind can do it. I think it's for those bigger things. I think Atlantis allegedly, not flipping Atlantis, but they had lighting, they had flying objects, they had power during the day, they had a lot of stuff, and allegedly it was all crystal stuff. Yeah. So I think there's a lot we don't know. But I agree. The ones on me don't do shit. Like, although there are the big, like the black ones on my desk, I do feel absorption from those. Mm-hmm. Do feel things that I calm down around them. I do. Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll
But
wake up
you
with fluid on prayers.
that could be from your past too, from your past, experiences that you're kind of relating to too. It could be like your past dealings that you've had with that. Just just bringing the memory to you, right?
Yeah, I think memory.
Like I have like obsidian pyramids everywhere. I just love pyramids too. Like I'm just obsessed with pyramids and stuff. So I always resonate. And I've had a past life regression where I was sacrificed in Egypt as a child to harness energy. So I definitely connect with the Egyptian energy too, as well as Greece. So when we talk about Atlantis, Christopher, I've always been attracted to Greece.
I know.
And Greek mythology.
Yeah, I mean the whole world was. It's interesting. One of the questions from backstage is how can we tune in with our hearts and with earth energy more? Actually, we're in tune. We're allowing other parts of ourselves to distract us. We're already in tune. You're already in tune with your hearts. You're just allowing other things to talk louder, like your feelings and your thoughts. And so it's a discipline thing. It's also an identification thing. I mean, my heart has a specific, like, awesome feeling to it. So once I know where it is, I can just kind of consciously go there inside myself. So that's the other thing too. The mapping of awareness is so subtle and so personal. So it's like, it's that weird thing that happens over here. Oh, okay. But if you pay attention to your energy, it does have constant like rhythms and things it does over and over again, little twitches, little weird things inside your body that you think is your imagination. But as you start to look at them, you realize there's an interaction going on.
Yeah, and I would say for me, I think in conjunction to that, like I feel that we have to understand when physical is needed. So I would say physicality is secondary. We got to put heart first. That means what you're feeling is first, and then secondary comes the physicality. So I think many people are so entrenched in the physicality first, and manifestation comes from feeling, thought, right to things. So same thing with our karmic expressions. If we understand what's going on within us and learning more about ourselves, then you understand that you're not having filters any longer. So I agree with you, Christopher, that we're already heart focused, but we have so many filters in the mind that's or filtering our soul out. That's physical parameters that we don't need, and the physical limitations that we don't need. So I would say know your ordering, and physicality is always secondary, not primary.
Yeah. Although I think once you believe in it more, the volume turns up. So it's like
Totally.
It's like once you believe in goosebumps, then you always get them. Like
Right.
It's like your reality just goes, okay, we'll steer that way. And so if you need loud, then go ahead and ask your body for loud. It'll be loud. It'll lead out loud, but it'll help. It will be that way. Yeah. I do get a lot of physical in a reading. I get a lot of physical stuff. Like I can feel the presence of entities or their guides. I can feel like a pull. I can feel the energy from them. I'm feeling energy. Also, yeah. And I listen. You open up and you're like, what's here? And you just,
right.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. So if people start with the heart first, start with the feeling first, the physicality becomes even more more palpable like that. Because I feel more when I'm, physically, when I'm tuned in emotionally, tuned into what I'm feeling and intuitively. The physical expressions become that more satisfying. I'm not chasing the physical expressions. Many people are just chasing the physical expressions first, and that's where they get lost. So that would be my answer to the, how to be more heart-centered in Earth is like understanding that you're part of Earth, but not you're in it, but not of it, right? And so let Earth be thy bitch.
With that we have a commercial. We have one more commercial. We'll talk about Earth being a bitch right after this.
Hello, I'm Sanandra, founder of Sichi Organics. For the past 30 years, our goal has been to bring the healing power of plants into your everyday life with simple, clean, organic skin and hair care made with love. From now through May the 4th, we are running a very special promotion for a free 1-hour astrology reading with our beloved Sensei Christopher Witecki. Enter code word I am a winner at checkout and you'll also receive 15% off. May the 4th be with you.
The world is starting to catch on to human design. But what is it? Through combining astrology, the I Ching, the Vedic chakra system, and the Kabbalah, human design provides you with action-oriented strategies to align with your unique energy.
Are you tired of the same old thing? Register today to get a code for 25% off a human design report or a free report with the purchase of a session.
Welcome to the rest of your life. Welcome to human design.
Oh, what's funny is like just watching that human design commercial. It's like, wow, that was a trip to me because it's like it's using the same thing we do in commercials always, but now I'm being talked into human design as an option. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It was really interesting. Yeah. It's like, and when I was a kid, it was like, what was it? Dialectics. I can't remember this name.
Dianetics.
Dianetics,
Yeah,
thank you.
Ron
Dianetics,
Hubbard. I did Scientology too. In my quest, I was a Scientologist for my little quest after the Christian thing and atheist thing. Then I went to Scientology. So yeah, I have a huge little journey there with Dianetics and Ron Hubbard.
Ron Hubbard. Yes, exactly. Well, I think we're out of time, which means we got to talk about what's on your show tomorrow night.
That is right. So tomorrow, Thursday, because I'm talking about demystifying mysticism. So, and it kind of goes in line with the show, because a lot of times I find people overly mystifying things, and in my sessions I'm like, let's not overly mystify this. As a mystic, I think we can simplify our connection to actual mysticism, realize how more rational it really is. So that's tomorrow night, and we're doing live readings as well, so come and see me every Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time, right after you have LOL Wednesday, my show Thursday, and Namaste today and Serious Joy on Fridays. So we're filling up your weeks here.
Yeah, we're getting it into the drinking weekend. Just kidding. Come on, come on, you're almost there. Yeah, kind of thing. No, it feels better. I like having shows at the end of the week, not the beginning. That's just me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, of course, if they want to book a personal session, scottcruzpm.com. If they don't want to do the live ratings things, I know people, but find me there to see how I work. And if you want to book a private one-on-one, scottcruzpm.com.
Brilliant. And do it now, because he's getting busier and busier. That's all we have for our show, but join us next week as we talk the purpose of each of the 12 zodiac signs. That's right. We're going to look at the actual purpose of the sign. Like, why did God create them?
Yeah, I'm excited for that one. I think we have our best shows when we do the astrology reads. So that'd be fun. I'm excited.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Those are fun, because I like to riff raff on the signs, and change it. Yeah. And so I guess that's stuff. Let's see, Scott, don't forget to check out my show. That's your line, buddy.
Get off the script. We're done with the script. We're good.
All right, friends. Well, remember, it's going to be a lot of changes ahead. Don't put up any bullshit. Lead out loud.
See you guys. Good night.
That was smooth, man. The smoothest we've ever done it.
Well, it's been a while, but it's been a week. It's been a whole week. Yeah.
No, it doesn't feel like it. Time is speeding up for me. I'm really having, I swear, I go to the bathroom or something, and I'm like, okay, I'm coming out. It's been 15 minutes. I'm like, where have I been? What happened in there?
You've been constipated. Take some X-Lax.
I'm always constipating something, in real deep consideration.
Constipated and